welcome back. On this episode we're going to be getting stuck into doing that sunroof as I mentioned in the last video. So as you can see, we've been prepping the area of the sunroof for it to sit in. Now we've made a bit of a flange underneath for the sunroof skin to sit on. So we've gone along and cut approximately 50 mil strips of 1.2 millimeter steel, and they're in 4 sections. So obviously front and back, and then the sides are radiused as well to suit the skin. Now, initially I was going to cut it out of one whole piece, as in cut a sheet and then cut the hole out and then have that flange the whole way around. But as you found, as we get closer to doing it, if we do it in one piece, the corners are going to kind of pucker up a little bit, and then the sheet's going to sit up. So we've done it in sections where the front and back follow the radius of the roof this way, and then obviously that way as well, and the sheet's got a small gap in it both sides, and then we can get into getting that sheet sitting on exactly the same as it was removed from the other car. Last night we went ahead and I didn't get to film it too much, as it's hard to film every minute when you just want to get shit done, but all of these have been stuck in with this panel bond. Now this Transtar panel bond is what we're using to stick in the sunroof with, so this works really well. This is the same stuff I used on my LC to stick on the front guards, nose cone and all that, just so we didn't have to use any spot welds or welding just to keep it clean, but that works really well. And once it's set, it's really strong. But obviously because it's been so cold lately, it's taking a little bit longer to dry. So we did these sections last night, and then we've waited until today for it to all be dried. So we've gone along, and all the glue that's oozed out, we've come out today and razor bladed all that glue excess away, cleaned it up with an orbital sander, and just given it something for the glue to bite into so that it adheres nice to the steel. I also wanted to mention that when we did it, we stuck all these along the roof to clamp the steel tight with these clamps. Now these are nice and light, and the reason we've done that is because if you use something like an F clamp, which is heavy, if you lay all these along the roof and clamp it, it's going to start pulling the roof down, and we wanted to keep that shape in it as best we can. So we've just gone to Bunnings, picked up a whole heap of these and layered obviously the whole roof in areas that we could at the time, and glued it on with that. So that's worked really well, and obviously that curve in the roof has kept its shape. So we've gone ahead, I'll show you in another clip that I've got, but we've just puckered the roof up with a little bit of wedges of wood just to keep that front half up in the air, as there's no ribbing underneath, and we'll go ahead and get ready to stick this roof section on. So while that stuff is on the roof drying with the glue, I'm focusing now on the metal piece that's going to cover up the sunroof hole. So the car we removed it from did have a little bit of surface rust across the whole roof. And I also, while I'm there, I did see someone comment about why not just cut the whole roof section out and change it. But unfortunately, it was the only car we could find at the moment, and the back half of the roof skin had been jumped on. So we're dealing with what we've got, making the most of it, and we're just trimming it to suit the hole that's in the car, obviously. So anyway, right now, just treating this skin, as it does have quite a bit of surface rust all over. So, I mean, ideally we need to get rid of all that little bits of rust all around the metal, as that will most likely come back at a later stage once it's painted, either through the paint and crack, blister, whatever. So I'll spin the camera around and I'll show you what I mean. So I've just been cleaning it up lightly, and as you can see, all those little brown dots, that is surface rust, so that really needs to come out. I started with the orbital sander, and it ended up tending to just smooth the steel out. So I started with an 80 grit and then went to a 120, but as I said, it just smooths it rather than removes the rust. And then I got to the steel with one of these, just like a nylon wheel. Now, never pushing too hard on the steel, as obviously the harder you push, you're going to start removing that egg shape that's in the steel, as I said. So just lightly going across it, and that nylon wheel is actually very good for getting into all those rust pores as well, and it does remove a bit of that surface rust. So while I'm there, got a bit of this, which is just a, as it says, metal conditioner, like dioxide acid. So you treat that, use it with parts water and acid, and then we'll treat this, do up a mix of that, get into cleaning that up, and hopefully start removing some of that rust. If it doesn't remove it, I may have to look into putting it in the sandblaster outside. So hopefully I don't have to do that, because I don't like sandblasting panels, especially something like a roof skin. So anyway, let's get into mixing up some dioxide and then seeing how this treats. Alrighty, so just finished mixing up that acid. So I've mixed it 50-50 ratio with water. I'm going to do half the roof skin, see how it comes out like, and hopefully can see the difference if it works or not. So anyway, let's get into doing that now and see how it comes up. Alrighty, so we are halfway through doing that sheet. That process that you just watched me do quickly there on the time lapse, I repeated that roughly probably 8 to 10 times after that. So that was just like one first pass. I wiped it clear with a wet cold rag, and then I repeated the process again, scrubbing. I'm using steel wool to try and get into those deep pores, and I'll spin it around and you'll be able to see exactly what I mean. So obviously 50-50 steel. Now that is 100% better than, what it was, but it is, 99% treated. Couple of little pores which you can still see in the steel. I'd like to try and get as many of those out as I can, but compared to what it was, you can see that metal conditioner really doing its job there. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to repeat the process I did here onto here and continue going with it. Alrighty, one little sunroof delete section, all cleaned up, metal conditioned, rust converted, whatever you want to call it. Come out really good. So we'll spin the camera around and have a quick look at it. As you can see, most of those dark brown, black dots all over that you could see, they're pretty much mostly gone now. There was this one spot right here which had a really bad rust mark. All I did there was get a large drill bit and just try and remove it by plucking it out. You can only just feel it, so it probably looks worse than it is, but nothing a little bit of filler won't hurt. So I'd rather have that than rust and bubbles coming back through the steel. And while I was there, I also did the underneath flange as well, so no rust can protrude from that. Once it's up under the car, might do a little bit more of the sound deadener. That's all that is. So that's looking good. We'll have a look up here to the car. So while I've been doing that, we've been gluing these pieces in up here. So got some flat strips of 1.2 mil steel, as you can see, and used that 2-stage epoxy glue. And we are gluing in a lip, as you can see here. Did this one last night, and takes approximately 90 minutes, it says, to dry. I don't know about that, it's taken a little bit longer. So for those that are interested, this is the product that we've been using. This is the product that I used on my TORANA. I don't know if you can see all of that in the part number there. So that product there is like a 2-stage glue. It's literally just gluing this roof skin into place. So same process I used on my LC, the front guards, all the front end, everything's been glued on so that there's no spot welds and just for that smooth look really. But when it comes to doing this sunroof, Dad suggested doing it, and I thought, oh yeah, might not be too bad of an idea. So we're going to glue it in as I've shown, and hopefully stop the process of the roof bowing with all the heat putting in it and any shrinking. So anyway, we will carry on with it and see how it goes. Alrighty, that roof skin section is all in place now. Come out pretty well, I'm very happy. As you could see before in that video, I was just going along with my hands underneath the roof, supporting a bit of the weight and pushing down from the top. I just wanted to get some of that panel bond out that would ooze out and then wipe the excess, because I mean, if you put a little bit too much in there, the panel is obviously going to sit up above, and we don't want that. So we wanted to sit nice and flush. We've gone along, move the magnets as I'm going, and just wipe that off with some Prepsol, like wax and grease remover, and that's come out really good. So yeah, we'll move along now. As I said, this is not the only way to do it. If you've got another way and you like doing it that way, then by all means do it like that. But this way I think is very good, because I mean, one, we didn't have to use the grinder anywhere and cutting, and there's no sparks. If you use a welder, you get a lot of shrinkage and moving in the panel will warp and sparks and whatnot. So we've been able to do this without any sparks or fallout and shit like that. So that is very good. So that is all sitting in there now in place. Magnets are holding it just for now. Just got the heater on underneath, and as you can see up here, we've just got a couple of bits of small bits of wood in place acting as a wedge just to support that roof skin so it retains its shape. They're literally just sitting in there so that the roof doesn't drop. All the glue has oozed out perfectly nice, and a nice even bead, so it's come out very good. Alrighty, today is Tuesday. We are back out in the shed, removed all the magnets off of the roof. As you can see, it's starting to look really good. A series of events have taken place since I was doing some filming on Sunday it was, so we've removed all those magnets. As you can see, the excess glue that was oozing out has been just oozed into that gap real nice. It's come out really good. The whole roof, I'll go around and talk through how it's gotten to this stage and what I've missed and haven't filmed. So since removing obviously all the magnets, we've gone into the process now of smoothing out or feathering out all of that paint. So went across the whole roof with a DuraBlock, one of these, nice and long, not too long though, it's more of a medium sized one, and some 320 wet and dry. So using the block, working with the roof long ways, and working with the obviously the section that's been put in, just trying to feather out any of that, the highs and lows, and it's starting to look really good, and you can feel it with your hands now. It feels absolutely brilliant, so I'm really happy with that. That's come out really good. However, the sheet that was in the roof that we installed had a couple little pin dents here and there. I don't know if it had a bit of hail damage to the car that was removed from or what. So went along and made the old Dent Remover 3000. It's got an old punch, welded to some hollow bit of tube, got the old bit of rope in, tied it to the top of the door here for simulation purposes. This is exactly how it was done. Went along, put it in here, and literally poked up onto the roof skin like a bit of leverage, and worked around all those little pin dents that are in the roof, which look like a little bit of hail damage. Just try and remove that, and highlighted those with just this little file going along the top as a process, like a little bit of a shrinking process, highlighting the highs and lows. You can see in the roof, and you can run your hands along them and feel it like a golf ball, and now it is nice and smooth. So that's worked really well. Like I said, you don't always have to have the best tools, but if you've got a good imagination, you can make tools. You can make things do other things in the shed, and do the same thing as all the fancy tools. So that's coming along really well. I've used this old floodlight or LED light in the background to work in with the roof skin, and you can follow the light to chase any of those light dents as well, which works really well. Work off of any lighting in the background always works to your advantage, so that's also really good. Next, after the roof had been now 320'd with a block, it is now ready to be etch primed. So just going to put a very light dust coat of etch prime just all over mainly the steel area, not onto the green, as the steel needs to be etch primed before it can be epoxied. And then once it's epoxied, then we can work towards using some filler to even out all the little bits that are high and low, and that'll be sweet, no dramas. It's coming out really good. I'm very happy. Like I said, without the welding and the heat, there's hardly any pulling and shrinking in this roof, and it's starting to look really good. So once it's got some epoxy on it, that'll be probably tomorrow, as we don't have any at the moment. So tonight I'm just going to use this, which is called Waddle Super Etch. It's just in an aerosol can, works absolutely brilliant. I like it. I use it on a lot of stuff if you know, just need to paint something quickly, or something as small as this. No point mixing up, I mean, a whole paint pot just for that roof. So we'll get into doing that. That's just been heating up on the bar heater now. It's nice and warm, so we'll get into painting that, and then we can move on towards the epoxy tomorrow. Alrighty, sunroof delete is all edge primed, come out really good, I must say. Now that it's all black, you can get an idea looking across it with the light in the background of how nice it's going to come out. So super wrapped with that, gaps are really good. And next is going to be putting some epoxy primer on this, like a Epitech. We're all out of that, so I'm gonna get some of that tomorrow, and then we can move on towards getting the roof sealed up after that, and then we can move into putting in some filler work that it will need. Light filler all over the areas that have got the highs and lows, which is very minimal, so that'll be good. The less bog in the roof, the better. So now, between waiting for the paint and doing that, we can move on towards getting this body blocked back. So we're gonna block back the whole body by hand with 320 and the DuraBlock. We're gonna wet sand it with one of these. Got plenty of wet and dry sandpaper. As you can see, the whole outside of the body, mainly the green obviously, has been coated in an etch primer. So that'll act as a guide coat for blocking the car back now. We'll get it nice and straight, remove any imperfections, and yeah, get into that. Once again, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe, keep up to date. We're trying to keep the videos coming every week at least, so a very busy schedule, and the car's coming along quicker than I thought, so hopefully within the next month or two, this might have some paint on it. We've had some very good comments coming through on the last video for ideas for a colour, and they're looking pretty good, so I'm pretty keen to get this blocked back nice and straight and in primer, because once the whole car's in primer, I think that'll motivate me even more to get some paint on it. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all on the next one. Cheers.